Welcome, everyone, to the Meaningful Hearts podcast, where we discuss the everyday questions that make us or break us if we let them. With your hosts, Drew and Daniela. Take our hands and let's walk this journey together.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Meaningful Hearts podcast. At the time of this recording, it's actually raining outside. So what better topic to talk about than the rain? Drew, of course, agrees.
Yes.
This is a good idea.
Rain is amazing.
Yeah, it definitely is. But unfortunately, not everybody sees the rain as amazing. So that's why I thought, it might be something to discuss. So Drew just said, the rain is amazing. Drew, have you always felt this way about the rain?
Yes. I've always felt I wanted to go to school more on a rainy day than on a day that was sunny. I love the idea of just having it gloomy outside, and it's just very soothing. It's quiet. It's like the world is at rest and all that exists is what's going on in front of you. I just always enjoyed it. It was like my favorite time to write or read. It was just soothing to just see the rain. I love it. It's just something other than that, I can't explain it. I just always have loved the rain.
How do you think it got to be that way? Like, how do you think you got to have that mindset?
I don't know. It was always polarizing to me. Always just like kind of cozy. I guess I like that feeling of being cozy in a blanket or sitting down comfortable and just looking out the window and just seeing the raindrops. It's the noise that the rain makes, the sound of it all, things getting washed away, cleaned up. The smell of the rain, especially in the summer, it's always been something I've been fascinated with and just enjoyed thoroughly.
What do you think it is about it in particular that is soothing in moments when you're drawing or reading?
It allows everything to be as quiet and still as possible. There's nothing that will interrupt the rain. The rain interrupts everyone else's thoughts and processes and their days. People stay out of the streets. People just kind of go to their respective places. And with that being said, there's just calmness and stillness. All that exists is nature. And it feels good.
Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
I was writing notes as Drew was sharing, because there's a lot to take away from what you shared. And I think it's awesome that you have this perspective, and you and I share very similar perspectives about the rain. I also love the rain. For me, I haven't always loved the rain. And that's part of the reason why I thought it would be a good idea to talk about what this means, because in my experience, Drew, I don't know about you, but in my experience, on average, most people actually don't really like the rain. They think that it's messy, it's dangerous if you're driving or if you're outside. Dogs are scared of the rain. So there's a lot of negative connotation. I know for me, one of the things when I was younger, I didn't like the rain because I would walk outside and I would obviously get wet. And then, like, if I was going to go to school and it was raining, I didn't have rain boots. So I was just stuck in like sloshy, I don't know if sloshy is a word, but wet, sloshy shoes. And I didn't like that feeling. I felt like, and I think a lot of people can relate to the idea that rain is gloomy. It's sad. The clouds are actually very dark. So people don't really like that. People love sunshine and, brightness. So, like I said, it's a good idea to talk about it, because at some point we or not at some point, but we essentially have no control over the rain, right? But what we do have control over is how we choose to see the rain. So for you, Drew, I was hearing that there's a sense of coziness, or you can wrap yourself in a blanket. It interrupts thought. It becomes all about nature itself. It's quiet and still. Maybe not during a thunderstorm, but it is quiet. You know, there are there's a certain peacefulness. I think I was going to say peaceness. I don't think peaceness is a word, but there's a certain peacefulness about the rain.
Yeah. I would say the only time that I'm like, damn, it's raining is if I guess I have to do something where I don't want to get wet or soaked, or I love, baseball games would be canceled, and that would suck because it always happened to rain when I had a baseball game, and a few droplets of rain, they would just cancel it. I used to get so pissed. I was like, no, it's going to hold up. I don't care. I wanted to play, but I guess it's the only time that I'm like, damn, it's raining. That's it. Other than that, I didn't care.
I think it would be very helpful if more people adopted the way that you and I see the rain now. And the reason for that is because you get to see the different side of something that is essentially negative. It's something, like I was saying before, it's gloomy. It's actually interesting because I think the point in my life where my perspective on rain changed was when I was working on changing my perspective. Same thing with the snow. So many people really don't like the snow. Ooh, this is one is actually interesting. Drew's like, I hate the snow.
Yeah, fuck the snow.
So many people really don't like the snow for so many different reasons, right? Mainly, I think it's because of how messy it gets afterward, the shoveling, the piling up, etc., etc. So I guess in some ways, in some ways, rain and snow can go hand in hand in that same like negative connotation. So I used to also not be a really big fan of the snow and the rain. And actually, when I was working on finding my own self love and my own inner peace, is when my perspective on both of these things changed. I actually remember the exact moment where my perspective about the snow changed. Drew, I think I've shared this with you, but as we're talking about it, I'm pretty big on self-disclosure, so why not disclose it to our listeners? So this was we live in New York, and this was years ago, and there was one point in my life way before that where I really was struggling mentally, emotionally, and I didn't want to be alive. Obviously, I overcame that. Fast forward to this snowstorm that we had years ago, and I remember going outside. There was just this urge that I had to go outside by myself, and this is me as an adult playing in the snow. The whole street was blocked off. It was so quiet. It was everything was super white. It was several inches of snow. And I remember just kind of standing there and thinking to myself, I think I can fall back on the snow and be okay. And that's exactly what I did. I let myself fall back. And I think one of the things that people do like about the snow is making snow angels. And that's exactly what I did. I let myself fall back and I created a snow angel. And when I was done, I laid there for a moment. And I don't know if, Drew, I don't know if you've experienced this or anybody listening has experienced this, but there is this feeling when you stand in snow, you just kind of feel like the tingling around it, like the cold. It's almost like the cold is radiating off the snow itself. So I remember sitting there, and it's not sitting, I was laying down. I remember laying down there and kind of feeling the snow wrap around me with that cold feeling. And I remember looking up and it was a clear sky. And I remember thinking, wow, I'm so glad I didn't take my own life. Like this moment right here is so peaceful. I remember thinking like, I can feel the snow on my cheek. Like it was just a really big moment in my life. And ever since then, the snow, I love the snow. And I think me loving the snow has made Drew not hate it so much because I had so much fun cleaning his driveway.
I would say that snow is beautiful and calming as well. It's not necessarily, I guess, the snow itself. It's what the snow causes. Yes, driving. When I was a kid, snow was amazing. It's like I didn't have to worry about driving. As becoming adult, it was a hurdle. It caused a lot of problems. So in that regard, that's where I really hate the snow. But when you have nowhere to go and you have some warm soup or something hearty to eat and a book or you're writing, same deal. You look out the window and it's beautiful when it's just snowing. There's nothing going on. It's silence. Even walking in the snow, even when I'm shoveling it, I honestly don't mind shoveling the snow.
It's so much fun.
Well, I mean, I did it a lot of the times by myself, a lot of it by hand without a snowblower. And honestly, I would just be out there by myself and there was nobody out there. And it was honestly, I would just be in the zone for hours, just out there by myself. And I really did enjoy it. And as technology advanced, I'd have, listen to podcasts and things like that. I was kind of in the zone and I really did enjoy it. And then, yes, when I met Daniela and she was able to use a snowblower when we got one and she was like having a blast with it. It definitely brought a lot of joy. And I look forward to doing that again in the future.
It's for me, it's a shame that it doesn't snow as much as it used to. Because I do have a lot of fun with it. I wish it would snow. Maybe we'll move to like Alaska or something, or somewhere where it snows a lot.
You say that, and then you're like, well, not too remote. Like, what are we gonna do in Alaska? It's beautiful there, but it's a whole different lifestyle.
Anyway, so just like my perspective about the snow change, I think in a lot of ways, my perspective about the rain also changed. I started to see the rain differently. I started to see it as like, wow, it's a moment in time where I can stand outside and actually feel nature coming down on me. There's that really cliche saying about the rain. Some people feel the rain, others just get wet. And I don't know, it's just something that's very near and dear to my heart. And my hope in sharing these stories and sharing my perspective and also Drew's perspective on the rain is that ultimately we have no control over the weather. That's just Mother Nature, or at least if you believe in conspiracies and stuff like that, they say that the government controls the weather. I don't judge, live and let live. But in any case, essentially, the weather is the weather, right? Like so many things in our lives that we have no control over. But the one thing that we do have control over is our own perspective. This actually also reminds me. So Drew was amazing to introduce me to Tony Robbins. And as I started listening to a lot of Tony Robbins, I started listening to Tony Robbins' original teacher, Jim Rohn. And I remember listening to something on my way to work that I actually listened to over and over again. And he talks about perspective and mindset. And one of the things that he says, which I think, Drew, you'll appreciate this little brief story because it's about salesmen. And I know you're very experienced in the world of sales. Yeah. So he says there's two different kinds of perspectives that people can have. A salesman wakes up in the morning. This is the first perspective. A salesman wakes up in the morning and he sees that it's raining outside. And he says, oh man, it's raining outside. There's no way I'm going to get any sales today. It's ugly outside. Nobody's going to want to buy. Why am I even going to bother? So I'm going to stay home. That's the first perspective. A second salesman, different, wakes up, sees that it's raining outside, and he says, oh my God, it's raining outside. What a great day to go outside and try to get some sales. People are going to stay home from work, especially other salesmen. And I always when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's such a fascinating mindset to have. That the circumstance doesn't change, the external environment doesn't change. It's still raining outside. But one person sees it as like, man, this sucks. And another person sees it as like, wow, what an opportunity. And that's ultimately why I thought it would be a good idea to share or to have this conversation. And I'm also fortunate enough that Drew also feels the same way about the rain. The snow, we'll get there. But I'm also not a summer person and I'm working on that. So a balance, right? I've definitely been rambling. But yeah, I think the point is, again, we don't choose external things that happen, but we do have a say in how we choose to see things. And we can either choose to see a rainy day as a rainy day and, oh, I'm just going to try again tomorrow. Or we can choose to see a rainy day as, wow, what opportunities are there out there for me today?
Well, yeah, like, and Tony Robbins also says that instead of resisting it, learn to dance with it, right? So always do what what you can actually control. Work on those things. The external factors that you can't, you're going to exhaust yourself. You're going to put energy into something, put it into what you can change or you can affect. That's really the best way to go about it. You could stress about all these other factors, and maybe you can learn to love the snow or learn to love the rain. The things that
Drew loves the snow now.
it is true. If you learn to love the things or obstacles that are in your way that you dread, and you find a way to enjoy them or game it up so that you could do them, it's pretty impressive and pretty amazing how the dynamic will shift and you'll be able to do more. I mean, I think a lot of people who have a busy schedule, and there are a lot of things that are their day that help them become more productive, but they don't necessarily enjoy doing. I think they try to enjoy it or try to make a game out of it so they can get through it. And it's amazing how if you can eat your vegetables before you eat your dessert and you stick to that, it's amazing what you could do with that. I think you can get over anything. I think you could pretty much conquer anything that's in your way, as hard as it may seem.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point. And granted, sometimes it's a lot easier said than done.
Always.
Because there definitely have been moments in my life when it has been raining and I'm like, damn, today I'm not feeling it. Today I want to stay in bed a little longer. And I think we all go through that to some extent. I wouldn't want our listeners to feel like, man, they just make it sound so easy. I can't do that. I can't see the rain differently. Nobody's saying that it's easy. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's pretty simple. It's your perspective. It's how you choose, right? But simple is also really hard to do sometimes. We're not asking you to make this change overnight, but it's more for, I guess, consideration, some food for thought. Like I said before, I wasn't always a fan of the rain. I didn't always enjoy snow. There are certain things that happen in my life, certain feelings that I experience, thought processes, mindset shifts that got me to this point. It wasn't something I didn't just wake up one day and say, oh my God, the rain is so awesome. It doesn't happen that way. So I would want our listeners to keep that in mind, that the rain is an amazing aspect of life. And I don't mean that like the actual rain, sure, the actual rain, but it's the perspective behind it.
Yes. The metaphor?
Yeah. Yes, the metaphor.
There we go.
Behind it. Drew, is there anything as you've been listening to me ramble on and on that you would want to share or that you would want our listeners to take away from listening to us ramble on about the rain? I wonder if anybody's like, damn, they talk about the rain like it's just rain.
It's more of the metaphor, right? So
yes, it is
whatever storms, snowstorms, rainstorms are in your life, and maybe dig a little deeper and try to figure out what it is about that again that affects you or bothers you, and maybe try to find peace with it and help it liberate you. And like what Daniela did in the snow, maybe that's what it takes. It takes you to dive a little deeper to see through what it is that affects you and how to change that.
Was that a pun? Because I dove into the snow, like I fell back, and you said dive a little deeper.
No pun intended, but yeah, yeah. If it works, it works.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts and for being here.
I appreciate you for disclosing those deep moments in your life and and expressing that to the world. That's disclosing things about you that, that have changed and some of the dark times that you went through. I think that's important to share, and we appreciate you for it.
Well, thank you. I wouldn't be able to share it here if you didn't have this platform. So I thank you. And now people listening are like, they're just going to be thanking each other.
They're going back and forth, and it's like a tennis match. I'm serving it back to you. Well, I didn't create the platform. The platform was created before I did. Wow, overhand serve.
In any case, I would like to say that we hope, I hope it's okay that I speak on Drew's behalf, that we hope that, as silly as it may sound, as simplistic as it may sound, it really does come down to making a conscious effort to change your perspective about the rain, the snow, the storm, a dark time in your life. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. Drew and I are living proof, and so many others that we listen to and have come before us. And the last thing I think is very, very cliche, but one of the greatest things about the rain that I would want people to remember is that after the rain, there's usually a rainbow somewhere. And that's very cliche, but rainbows are beautiful. Rainbows wouldn't come out if it wasn't for the rain first.
That's true.
So just a reminder, the next time it rains in your area, to ask yourself how you feel about it. Now, if you're like Drew and I and you love the rain, wonderful. If you're not, also okay. But take these things into consideration and see where your new perspective or your different perspective can take you in life.
Yes. Thank you all for listening.